Hello everyone, it's Rachna here with the next presentation on the chapter The Rat Trap by Selma Lagerlof. Before we move on for the chapter, let's know about the author. She was a Swedish writer whose stories have been translated into many languages. The story is set in the middle of the mines of Sweden, which are rich in iron ore. The story is narrated in the manner of a fairy tale. It gives us the message that the emotions of love and expectance can reform others. Let's move on for the chapter. Once there was a man who used to sell small rat traps made of wire. These rat traps were made by him in his free time. He used to collect the material required by begging from stores or big farms. Still, his business was not earning him any profits. Therefore, he had to beg or steal in order to survive. His clothes were old and torn, his cheeks were lowered inside due to malnutrition, and one could easily see the hunger in his eyes. The life of the rat trap seller was very sad and boring. He was homeless, and slowly, with heavy feet, he walked along the road, lost in own thoughts. But one day he got lost in a series of thoughts which he found very interesting. The man was thinking about the rat trap, and suddenly a thought came to his mind that the whole world, which includes land, sea, cities, villages, was similar to a rat trap. He thought that there was no meaning of the existence of this world. It was nothing but a temptation, just like cheese and pork, which were offered as bait to catch the rat. So, according to him, as soon as someone tries to comfort himself with joy, food, and shelter, he at once gets trapped into the rat trap, which is known as world. No one in the world had ever been kind to the rat trap seller, so he started thinking ill of others. It became a favorite pastime for him. During dull moments, these thoughts made him happy, so he continued with thinking ill of those who were known to him. He would imagine those people who were already trapped in the rat trap of the worldly things, and also those who were about to get trapped. One evening, the seller was walking very slowly. He saw a little grey cottage which stood by the road. He went up to the cottage and knocked at the door so as to get shelter for the night. Generally, he was not held by anyone, but this time he was welcomed by the old man into his cottage. He was a lonely old man without wife and kids. The old man was happy to get company that night. So the old man gave him some porridge to eat and then shared his tobacco with the guest. After this, both played cards till bedtime. The rat trap seller felt that the old man was not only liberal in sharing his porridge but also his secrets. He tells him that he was a rich man when he used to work on the rented farm. As he was old now and couldn't work, so he had to depend upon his cow for his living. The cow gave enough milk every day to be sold in the factory that produces cheese and cream. The old man said that he was able to earn 30 kronos last month because of the cow's milk. The rat trap seller did not believe the old man's words that a cow could earn him so much. Therefore, the old man took a leather pouch which hung on a window and took out 3 notes of 10 kroner each, which were old and crushed. He showed those currency notes to make him believe his words and then kept back. Next morning, both the rat trap seller and the crofter woke up early as the crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow. Even the rat trap seller felt that as the owner of the house had awakened, so he should also leave the bed. They both came out of the cottage at the same time. The old man locked the door and went to his work. The rat trap seller also thanked him and went his own way. After about half an hour, the rat trap seller returned to the cottage and he broke down the window pane where the pouch hung. He took away the money, kept in his pocket, put the pouch back at its place, and walked off. The peddler was quite happy as he had money in his pocket. He then thought of walking through the forest as it was unsafe to walk on the highway because he feared being caught. So initially it was not difficult to walk through the forest, but later on it got confusing for him as he forgot his way. He tried hard to walk in the right direction, but in vain as he found himself at the same place again and again. At this point of time, he started thinking that now he himself was caught in the trap of the world just like other people. He was fooled by the bait of money which he had stolen from the old man's house. The forest seemed like a prison full of trunks and branches. It was like an impassable prison. As it was the month of December, it got dark early. As it got dark, his hope of escaping the forest reduced. The danger to his life increased, and so did his feeling of being hopeless. There was no one left for him. There was no way left for him. So he sat on the ground and was so tired and terrified that he thought this was his last moment and soon he would die. As he laid his head on the ground, he heard a very strong regular sound. It was a hard sound that was coming at the regular intervals. He soon realized that these sounds were the sounds of a hammer strokes from an iron mill. He thought that he could find some people nearby. With this thought, he gathered some strength and started walking with great difficulty towards the direction of the sound. The Ramso Iron Work was a large plant which had shut down few years ago. It had smelter, rolling mill, and a forge. In summers, long flat-bottomed boats carrying the material would come down the canal which led a large inlet lake for applying material to the mill, and in winters the roads turned black because of the coal dust that came along due to the transportation of the charcoal crits. On one long dark evening near Christmas time, the master smith and his helper were sitting in the dark forge, which was built near the furnace. He was wearing a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Both of them were waiting for the pig iron which was put inside the furnace fire to be ready to put onto the anvil. Anvil is a heavy block with flat top which is used to shape the metal. They took turns to stir the liquid which was very hot. As they could bear the heat for a few minutes, each of them would return sweating profusely. One could hear different types of sound in the forge. There was a big bell which was blowing air in the fire with great sound. Also, there was the sound of cracking coal. One could hear the bang of the charcoal which was being shoveled by the fireboy. The sound which were coming from outside the mill. These were of the waterfall, the high-speed north wind which hit the raindrops against the brick tiled roof. It was due to these different types of sounds that the blacksmith didn't realize that a man had opened the gate of the forge and had entered till he came and stood near the furnace. Many homeless people used to get attracted to the lights of the forge which peeped through the windows pane were covered with a black powder of burnt coal. They could seek shelter there. They would warm themselves with the help of the burning fire. As the blacksmiths were accustomed to visitors, they were indifferent to the men. They just looked at similar to that of other wanderers. He had clothes torn, long beard, dirty, and had a bunch of rat traps hanging from his chest. The peddler tried to seek permission from the blacksmith so that he could stay in the forge for a night. He allowed the peddler with an arrogant consent by just nodding and didn't say a single word to him. The peddler also said nothing because his main aim was to warm himself and sleep. The owner of the Ramsar iron mill in those days was a very ambitious person, whose aim was to sell only the finest iron in the market. Therefore, he used to keep a check on the workers both during the night and the day. The owner was on a right inspection on that night visit when the peddler entered the forge. Unlike the blacksmiths, the ironmaster at once noticed the peddler who was sitting so close to the furnace that steam was coming out of his torn clothes. He not only went near him but also removed the vendor's hat that was bent to one side so that he could see the man's face clearly. When the ironmaster took off the peddler's hat, he mistook him as an old acquaintance, Niels Olof. The peddler didn't know him, nor had he seen this man before, but he thought that it this man mistook him as his old companion and gave him some money out of pity, then it would be a good thing. Therefore, he didn't let him know that he had mistaken him as Niels Olof. So the peddler started a conversation with the ironmaster by saying that things didn't went well with him. To this the ironmaster replied that he had made a big mistake by leaving the regiment. He also added that if he would have been working in the regiment when he resigned, he wouldn't have let him do so. Later on, he invited him to his home. The Rattrap seller didn't find it to be a good idea to visit the ironmaster's place. He was frightened with the idea of visiting the large house of an old soldier, which according to him was not safe. After all, he had the stolen money with him. He didn't want to put himself in danger. His intentions were to sleep in the forge and then go away from there without even being noticed. The ironmaster was aware of his friend's miserable condition, so he tried to make him comfortable by saying that he should feel free to come to his home as his home was a ordinary one. He told him that his wife and no more and added that he must be aware of this. Then he let him know that both of his sons were settled abroad. Only he and his daughter were left at home. He invited him to celebrate Christmas with his family so that he and his daughter may have some good company at the Christmas feast. Though the ironmaster made many attempts to invite him, the peddler didn't accept his invitation. So at last he says to the blacksmith that it seemed the captain Bonstable, that the peddler, wanted to stay with him in the forge. Then he laughed and went away. But the blacksmith knew that he was hiding something. After a gap of half an hour, the ironmaster sent his daughter. He hoped that his daughter may bring his friend home, as he believed that she was better in persuading others. The ironmaster's daughter entered the mill with her attendant, who was carrying a big fur coat. She was a humble girl who was very shy. When she entered, everyone was busy the same way as they had been earlier. The blacksmith was still sitting on the bench with his trainees and was working on the iron. She went up to the peddler and lifted his hat. The peddler slept with one eye open, and as soon as he saw her, he got shocked and jumped up. She introduced herself as Edla Williamson and was sorry to hear about the hard times that he was facing. She explained to him that she had come to take him home with her father's permission. Adela had sympathy for the peddler, but then she noticed that the reason behind his fear could be that either he had committed robbery or jailbreak. So she said that he was free to leave the house at any time, but she wanted him to stay with the family just for Christmas Eve. Adela was talking to peddler in a very nice way, which made him believe her, and he got ready to go with her. The peddler wore the fur coat offered by the valet and started following the lady. He didn't even bother to notice the other people in the room. On the way to the house, the peddler felt that as he had committed something wrong, he would be punished for the same. He started cursing himself that if he had not stolen the money, he would not have got trapped like this. The money was a bait which had led him into the trap. The next day was Christmas Eve. Both the ironmaster and his daughter were at the dining table. The ironmaster said to his daughter that they had to do something good for the peddler and should try to find some better job for him. The ironmaster's daughter said that it was strange to see that the peddler had been in such a hard times and was doubtful whether the men had been educated. Hearing this, the ironmaster clarified that it was due to his bad condition. He also added that the man would behave differently after getting clean and dressed up. While both father and daughter were discussing about the peddler, he entered the room with the valet. He was looking clean as he had bathed, and his hair had been cut by the valet. He was wearing the ironmaster clothes and shoes, a shirt with a stretched collar and shoes which covered the entire feet. The ironmaster seemed very angry to see his well groomed guest, as now he could make out his appearance well and realized that he was not his comrade. He understood that he mistook some stranger as his old friend. He screamed at him and asked him to explain. The peddler knew that the ironmaster could make out that he was not his old friend, as he already knew this. He was ready for the consequences and felt that the luxurious treatment was about to end. The peddler tried to explain that he should not be blamed. He said that he was just begging for a stay at a forge. He also said that he had not harmed anyone and was ready to wear his rags again. To this, the ironmaster hesitated and said that the peddler had not been quite honest, and so he wanted to call the sheriff. The Rattrap seller gets so enraged upon hearing about the sheriff that he struck the table very hard with his fist. He said, "This world is a rat trap, and all the good things are a bait, just like the ring of cheese and the small pieces of pork are a bait for the rat, which are offered to trap it." Not only this, he also pointed out to Ironmaster that he may today be imprisoned by the sheriff, but one day the Ironmaster will also get trapped like this. The Ironmaster didn't like the peddler's word and decided not to call the sheriff. He asked the peddler to leave at once. The ironmaster's daughter stopped the peddler. She wanted to help the poor fellow. Since morning she was planning how she could make the peddler day happy on the occasion of Christmas. Therefore she went against her father's will and stopped him by closing the door. She tried to explain the difficulty faced by the peddler. She said that he didn't have any house. He was turned out from wherever he went, and he always kept on running in order to safeguard himself from being arrested. She said that she wanted him to enjoy Christmas with peace as they had promised him. They should not send away a man on Christmas, the man whom they had promised happiness on the day. The ironmaster was not able to find any answer to go against his daughter. The only thing he could say to his daughter was that she was trying good at convincing others better than the priest at the church. But he also warned her that hopefully her decision would not bring any adverse effect on them. The girl took the peddler to the table and offered him food. She saw that her father had consented to her wish. The peddler didn't say any word and started eating, though he was doubtful about her intentions and was wondering why she stopped him. The peddler went to sleep after having food. He did not cause harm to anyone and lay down on the sofa in the guest house. He was once woken up in the afternoon, but after having his lunch, he again went to sleep. It was like as if he had never got the chance to sleep so peacefully as he had got at this place. In the evening, the family woke him as they had to light up the Christmas tree. He stood there blinking as if he was getting hurt by the bright light of the candles. He again went to sleep. Finally, they called him again for the dinner of Christmas. After the dinner was over, the peddler thanked everyone present. The ironmaster's daughter said that the clothes which were given to him were a Christmas present from her father, so he could carry them with him. She even invited the peddler to be with her family for the next Christmas Eve and promised that nothing bad would happen to him. The peddler did not have an answer for this and stared at the girl with wonder. Next day, both Ironmaster and his daughter went for the Christmas service early in the morning. They didn't disturb the guest as he was asleep, Both Ironmaster and his daughter had come to know that a rat trap seller had stolen money from the old crofter. They realized that he was the same man whom they had over as a guest. The Ironmaster said that it was his daughter who insisted to give shelter to a thief and was wondering that how many silver spoons had been stolen by him. The ironmaster on reaching home inquired about the peddler from the valet. He also told him that he was a thief. To his surprise, the valet told him that the peddler, instead of taking something, had left a small Christmas gift for Miss Williamson. The ironmaster daughter opened the gift. It was so roughly packed that she could easily guess what was inside the pack. Apart from a rat trap and 3 crore notes, there was a letter. The peddler had thanked his host, who had taken care of him as if he was a real captain. In return, he gifted her a rat trap and also requested her to return the stolen money to the old man. He said that it was she who let him free from the rat trap by raising his status from that of a mere peddler to that of a captain. At last, he understood as Captain Bonstable. Now, this is a little summary for you to go through it and understand the chapter better. Thank you. See you on the next video. Bye then.